We ready? All right, so I'm going to start with a couple of things here. First of all, the negative side mentioned that annual checkups and inspections are too common. Well, the negative side, that's currently the status quo, and I believe you're supposed to stand for the status quo. We propose semi-annual checkups, not annual checkups. So if you're against the status quo, what are you arguing for? And in addition, you also said our plans aren't that different. Well, if our plans aren't that different, why are you proposing one to counter ours? If our plans aren't that different, it's a good plan, isn't it? Obviously, you have nothing to contest about that. But let's get to some more important things here. You mentioned that bridges and planes and plane crashes and all these things don't matter, they're privatized. Well, for bridges, there's a Federal Highway Administration, and for planes, there's the Federal Aviation Administration. So these are both high-end government companies that are controlling these industries. Planes have to be kept up based on their mechanical workings, and bridges have to be made sure that they're structurally sound. If they're not, the government checks it out, not private companies. It doesn't work that way. In addition, you talked about the state of Indiana having this system. Maybe it worked in Indiana, but last time I counted, there are 50 states in this country. So one state, maybe it worked. It's not going to work in every state. And then you also proposed 5 representatives as part of your counter plan. Well, we've had an issue with representatives right now with our fiscal cliff, and people tend to be pretty turned off by the fact that they're arguing for their own causes as opposed to our people. How do you know that's not going to happen in this same instance? You also had to leave a third argument to your second negative, or is that suggesting that you fell short on arguments? Because if that's the case, then obviously you don't have a case here. And you also mentioned things like the British economic site, The Guardian, mentioning something. This is America. What authority does Britain have over our infrastructure? I think that's pretty ludicrous, if you ask me. One other thing you've mentioned here, you mentioned Warren Buffett covers enough costs for 4.8 days, or whatever the statistic was. Warren Buffett's a wealthy man. I'm not going to deny that, but we have a population of over 300 million people. So you have to take into account everybody, not just the 45 or so billion dollars he may have, which is no small amount here, people. I'm not trying to downplay that, but it's significant nonetheless. And the last thing I'd like to mention is that you also said that there was a $2 trillion budget for transportation infrastructure. Well, I've got a statistic here that says it's $1.6 trillion for the whole thing, not just transportation. So, you tell me. The United States needs to fix its transportation infrastructure, and lives are at stake if nothing is done about it. Even more will be lost if the problem is not solved. Do you want to see and want to think of the people who perished in the 2007 bridge collapse who have died in vain? The roads, bridges, and inland waterways must be maintained to make sure that everyone is safe every time they travel. No more should a fear of flying or a hesitancy to look over the side of a bridge be needed. If you want to make sure all Americans can travel without worry, you must vote affirmative. Thank you.